You, the TBN partners, and is only made possible through your generous support.
Welcome to Creation in the 21st Century. I'm your host, Carl Ball, founder and director of the Creation Evidence Museum in Glen Rose, Texas. The title to today's program is New Year Reflections. It's the time of the new year. We're turning over a new leaf. We're starting all over again, but we start with reflections from the past. And one of the features to this program is that at the top of the program I try to answer a question. Now, I'll do my best to answer these with brevity, but the answers quite often require some background. And at the Creation Evidence Museum, we receive myriad questions, some by writing, some by telephone calls, some by people visiting the museum, others by email from around the world. And many of these questions are so good, like the one today, that rather than simply answering an individual, we've reflected on this, as we should, and let's just answer them where everyone can get the benefit of the research. Here's the question today. As a creationist, how do you explain dinosaurs? Well, now, that's a good question. You see, it's taken for granted by the average individual that dinosaurs, as are described in the geologic column and in the evolutionary concept, the paradigm, it's taken for granted that dinosaurs appeared about 228 million years ago at the beginning of the Mesozoic and disappeared at the end of the Mesozoic about 64 million years ago. So then the mammals began to evolve according to this concept, and it is taken for granted because of propaganda in the newspapers, propaganda on the radio, television, periodicals. Essentially, the concept of the preponderance of literature and conversation worldwide takes it for granted that Darwinian evolution has occurred and that the dinosaurs lived in the dim, distant past, appearing about 228 million years ago, disappearing about 64 million years ago. Well, as a creationist, how do you explain dinosaurs? That's the question. Well, first of all, let me say that this geologic column is found nowhere on the face of the earth except in the mind in cartoon sketches of the evolutionary community. It's not found anywhere. Secondly, what portions of it are found are interlaced with polystrate fossils. Thirdly, there is a worldwide layer of limestone running right through here, right through the middle of the dinosaur era. It is worldwide. It was first observed near Austin, Texas. It's called the Austin Chalk. It's called a Cretaceous, very hard layer. Runs from there 1,600 miles to the eastern seaboard, picks up again at the White Cliffs of Dover. Runs throughout Europe, Scandinavia, Russia, China. Runs throughout Israel. Runs throughout Africa, back to the United States. It runs north throughout Canada. South throughout Central and South America, runs west, is broken up by the Rockies, runs all the way to the western seaboard, picks up again in Australia. It is a worldwide sedimentary deposit running right through the middle of these dinosaurs, and that's our question today. Well, this worldwide deposit of sedimentary limestone had to be laid down by water. That demonstrates there was a worldwide flood. How do you explain the dinosaurs? The dinosaur fossils that we observe and dig, and I've discovered and directed the excavation of 16 different dinosaurs to date. These dinosaur fossils are impacted in sedimentary layers worldwide. They got caught in the flood. So the dinosaurs that missed the boat got impacted in the sedimentary deposits. But those that were on the ark, dinosaurs on the ark? Yes. How do you get big dinosaurs on the ark? Some of the dinosaurs I've described on this program, such as Seismosaurus, weighed almost 200,000 pounds, was about 140 feet long. Argentinosaurus and Ultrasaurus, bigger still, didn't weigh quite as much, but they were longer. How do you get one of those on the ark? Well, the problem is not to get one, you've got to get two. How do you get two of those on the ark? No problem. The specimens that God sent to the ark were the most viable juveniles. I've held in my hand the largest dinosaur egg discovered to date, about that big. So the largest dinosaur at birth would be that big. Reptiles reproduce their birth weight and size from 40 to 52 times in a lifetime. So as a juvenile, a dinosaur that was that size at birth would be the size of a Shetland pony. He and his girlfriend just trot on the ark, no problem. How do you explain the dinosaurs? Those that missed the boat were caught in the flood. Those that were on the boat lived for a while. But now, at the expansion of Earth's diameter in the days of Peleg, we lost some of the atmospheric pressure, so many of the dinosaurs died. But remnants of them are still around. Dr. Herman Regusters of Jet Propulsion Laboratory, with his colleagues, documented and photographed Mukele Mbembe in the Congo in Africa. Dinosaur and his family, they recorded his mating roar. I've led 3 scientific expeditions into the jungles of Papua New Guinea in search of living pterodactyls, cousins to the dinosaurs. Remnants are still around. So dinosaurs, rather than being the icon of evolutionary development, instead are a vital part of the creation model. And we have excavated at Glen Rose 7 footprints, human footprints of this dimension in the same layer with over 600 dinosaur footprints in that very same sedimentary layer. You explain the dinosaurs because they were a vital part of the creation model. Let me illustrate it like this. In the world before the flood, we had slightly smaller diameter to the Earth that would generate greater gravitational attraction, maintain the same mass, diminish the volume, and you get greater gravitational attraction. So that would solve the problem for the dinosaurs. The evolutionary community doesn't really know how to explain the dinosaurs with their small rib cages, small lung capacities, being able to live. But the creation model explains that very well. The world before the flood generated these conditions. And then you had greater atmospheric oxygen ratio, and you had greater carbon dioxide. So the dinosaurs are a vital part of the creation model. Now to today's special emphasis. New Year with reflection. I'm sure it's obvious to everyone watching this program that the world is in turmoil. There's no question about that. Being in turmoil as a global society, preferring wrath to peace, has God lost control? Not for a moment. As Henry M. Morris III wrote recently, the past record demonstrates, even in the history of nations not listed in the biblical record, that in spite of the wrath of man, the plundering of man, the wickedness of man and woman by his side, in spite of that, there has been a traceable reaction throughout history that can be measured